Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 2nd of February 2023, and these are the stories that we will be discussing in detail during the course of our show. We'll begin, of course, with the latest updates as far as the dastardly and heinous incident that happened in a mosque in the police lines in the red area of Peshawar is concerned. The figures are coming in. Of course, the people say that there might be a revision as far as the casualties are concerned. Nevertheless, around 100 people have lost their lives. More than 100 people have been injured. And this lays a lot of question marks as far as the different issues concerning the governance of the area and the security of the area are concerned. Those questions will be discussed in our very first segment, where we will be understanding how an incident like this happened and what needs to be done as far as thwarting any such incident in the future is concerned. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the visit of our Premier Shehbaz Sharif Sahab to Karachi, and of course the inauguration of the power plant in Karachi, which is a very important step in the right direction as far as our energy vows are concerned. Where do we go from here? Is this enough for our energy requirements? Do we need to do more? And with which pace do we need to move forward? How important is the Pakistan-China cooperation also in this field, that is energy cooperation? This is going to be our second segment. Then we'll be talking about we'll be talking about the number of apps that have been downloaded by Pakistanis in the year 2022. We all love smartphones. We all love to have the latest gadgetry and the latest apps as well. But there's a whole list of how many apps have been downloaded by Pakistanis last year, and Pakistan becomes one of the fastest growing app markets in the world, because as we know, we love to be intrigued, we love to have more and more apps, and that gives a huge market for all those companies who are manufacturing these applications. Finally, we're going to talk about Indian journalist Siddique Kappan, who spent nearly 2.5 years in jail without trial. He has now walked out of prison more than a month after he was granted bail by a court in the northern city of Precarious in a money laundering case. Press freedom is a huge question as far as India is concerned. Many organizations have been talking openly about the lack of press freedom and the lack of other human rights as well. This is going to be our last story. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns the latest as far as the heinous incident that claimed the lives of more than 100 people and injured many more others, more than 100. And this raises a lot of question marks that we are going to try to answer in this very segment. More in the following report.
Pakistan has rendered matchless sacrifices in combating terrorism, and particularly the martyrs and the great sacrifices of armed forces, police, rangers and other law enforcement agencies deserves generous accolade. The country always remained at the forefront of fighting terrorism, and it has urged the international community to help combat and go after those who backed, supported, financed and facilitated terrorism in the country. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has thanked the friendly countries for their condolences and profound sympathies on loss of precious lives in Peshawar tragedy. Since terrorism is a common threat to both Pakistan and Afghanistan, Foreign Office has reiterated that Pakistan hopes Afghan government to live up its commitments made with the international community and Pakistan to address matters of terrorism. Amid conspiracy galore surrounding Peshawar tragedy, Inspector General Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Police Muazzam Jah Ansari denounced all the speculations and rumors about the nature of the blast and emphasized the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa police will not rest until the blood of Peshawar blast martyrs is avenged. Pakistan has vowed to address the external facilitation of terrorists, and attempts to spread chaos in the country through terrorism will be dealt with on iron fist. Pakistan security forces are fully capable of eliminating militants, and the attempt to take over Pakistani nation through terrorism or malicious propaganda will not reach its goal today or tomorrow.
Brigadier Nadir, who's a defense analyst, joins us online. Sir, thank you very much to have joined us. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you as far as different issues that plague Pakistan are concerned. Let's begin with this incident that happened a couple of days back, and where it gives rise to a lot of question marks as far as Pakistan's security apparatus is concerned. First of all, I'd like to understand what was the main motive behind this attack. Was it to create disharmony? Was it to create fear among the public? Or was it to create a stamp of the party that was the terrorist organization that was behind it, that is the Jamaat-ul-Ahrar?
Pakistan has been under attack for quite some time, and this resurgence of terrorism too was going on for some time. But this incident is in a class of its own because it's the most heinous crime, and condemning it is not enough. So, of course, a lot of people have condemned it, but Pakistan must respond. This is my personal view as a defense analyst and as chairman of Pakistan National Reform Movement. To say that we'll punish the culprits, that's jargon, that's normal routine. I mean, if someone kills another man, the law should take its course and he should be hanged or he should be punished. So this is not what it is. This is war against Pakistan. But the problem is we don't take it as such. Pakistan is at war and we don't want to accept that Pakistan is at war. Number one, there is a western border through which all these attacks are coming. Even if this person or these groups were some insiders, they were supported from bases in Afghanistan. So Pakistan needs to respond to that. I've said it before on your program and I've written about it and I've talked about it in many other forums.
Now, Brigadier, there's one thing that comes to my mind, and that concerns the party, the terrorist organization behind it. First of all, it's TTP, then it denies that it is behind it. Jamaat-ul-Ahrar claims it is behind it. Then we've got Amir Muttaqi, who's the interim foreign minister of Afghanistan, that says that Afghanistan has nothing to do with it and it is an internal issue of Pakistan. Pakistan needs to look inwards. We've also got our foreign office spokesperson who said that Afghanistan, they hope will collaborate with Pakistan on this on the investigation concerning this incident. Who is right? Who should we blame?
Well, it's not very difficult to find out where this base of operations is. Even if, as they say, this was an inside job or some people were within Pakistan or just say, the base of operations of many of these organizations, terrorists and militants, are in Afghanistan. And the Afghan government or the Afghan Taliban may not be behind it. In fact, we have been supporting, as I said before, we have been supporting and we should continue to support the Kabul regime of Afghan Taliban. But that is as far as political economic support is concerned. For this, the answer should be given on both sides of the border. I said it before, I'm saying it again. That is one. And if you go a little further southwards, you see the things are happening in Baluchistan also. So what I'm trying to explain is, let us see the bigger picture. If you don't see the bigger picture, that it's not just somebody comes and kills 100 people or 90 people or so many people. It doesn't happen like that. And my question is, who is the state actor behind the non-state actor? You keep talking about the non-state actors. There is no such thing as non-state actors or militants and terrorists working on their own. Nowhere in the world. All over the world, see any war arena and you will find that there are certain state actors this side or that side. So who's the state actor? I've said it before, I repeat it. It's India, who has a larger design, because you have to link it with what India is saying. Just see the social media, see the channels. They are saying Pakistan is going to break into pieces. Pakistani nukes are going to be sold. Pakistan is going to default, and everything bad, everything evil under the sun is being said. So that's part of their propaganda campaign. This is part of their terrorist campaign. And there is a third component, which may not be linked. It's inexplicable, but we need to see that. There is within Pakistan a new breed, which are like I'll call political anarchists. You know, they're not revolutionaries, but they're anarchists. And just see the social media and what they're talking. And many of the things some of the things, no, I won't say many, but some of them are corresponding to what the terrorists are doing or what the Indians are doing. So there is overall a complete package of geopolitical agenda that is being waged against Pakistan, and this terrorist war is one part of it. So we need to embrace it as a war.
We need to embrace it, but we also need to embrace, Brigadier Saab, what the IG Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Muazzam Jan Ansari said today, and he talked about the fact that this suicide bomber was wearing a police uniform. Do you feel there have been security lapses on the part of the security establishment of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa? We've also have the Prime Minister who is asking Khyber Pakhtunkhwa as to where the 417 billion in anti-terror funds go. This might be related to politics, but nevertheless, the fact remains that there were lapses due to which this suicide bomber managed to enter a very secure area in Peshawar and managed to create havoc in a mosque in the civil lines. What should we need to do? How should we need to move forward in order to make our security apparatus stronger?
First of all, the point that you're raising is agreed to. It's very obvious. It happened in the police lines, or the police were responsible. And well, I'm not talking politics, but the fact of the matter is that somebody had to strengthen the police in the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and a lot of money was available. In fact, in the last 20 years, while there was a war on terror going on by the Americans, there was some level of effort within Pakistan also to by now some police forces should have been raised which should have been able to, or security forces which should have been able to deal with this. So in the first instance, it is not a subject for the army to deal. The armies are supposed to fight external enemies of the country, any army, any professional army. So this was basically a lapse, and there was no doubt in it. And also there is the question of funds and all that should be inquired if that has happened. That is one. But your second part as to what should be done. Well, let me tell you very frankly, and as a national reform movement, the first thing Pakistan needs is political stability. Because unless you have political stability, you will neither have the ability to fight external enemies or the terrorists, or for that matter, India, or bring up your economy, which is also in a downward turn. And all of these things get related at the lower level. Because the more unemployed people, the more recruits available to terrorists and militants and criminal organizations, and so much more. I don't want to give a lecture on that. The fact of the matter is, and anybody who steps out of line as far as the law of Pakistan is concerned must be taken to task. That is the biggest problem we are facing. Rule of law must be imposed, and no one should be even allowed to talk against Pakistan, against the army, or against any of the institutions, or any of the, I'm not talking about any political person, I'm talking about the national institute, I'm talking about the nation, or Pakistan. The army chief, General Sayyid Asim Munir, made extra, everybody does, he's made extra efforts, not only to secure Pakistan within Pakistan's national security, but also to do military diplomacy and bring about, all of the support and succor which you can from Gulf countries. And also, as you see in this entire environment, both the United States and China are supportive of Pakistan. The Chinese president
let's talk about United States and China. Now, China, of course, in a conversation with our premier to condole this heinous incident, whether it be the president or the prime minister, have also reached out to Pakistan as far as collaboration in anti-terrorism is concerned. So has the United States of America. Are these important players that Pakistan needs to work with in order to further strengthen its counter-terrorism capabilities?
Obviously, I said so in your program some time back, but we seem to be, sleeping. That's all I can say. You have to make this not just a Pakistani effort, because the people or the terrorists who are in Afghanistan, they're not only terrorists from Afghanistan. In fact, many of them are multinational or from different countries, or different regions even. So you need to have the United States along with the West, of course, the rest of the West, Western world, China, and even Russia wants to fight terrorism. So this is a good opportunity for Pakistan, and also it will make our job easier, because in terms of funds, in terms of equipment, in terms of intelligence, in terms of cooperation, it has to be a multinational or a bigger global effort against terrorism. That's the way you can fight, and you have to fight this war in Afghanistan. So now we are not going to invade Afghanistan. We will support the Kabul regime, but we have to fight the terrorists and get the support of all the big powers into it. Because it's a matter for the whole world.
This word support is very important, Brigadier Saab, but there's also another word that you mentioned during the course of this conversation, and that is political anarchists that are trying to destabilize the country and use any opportunity that they get to further create havoc within our country through the social media or other media as well. We've talked about hybrid warfare in the past as well. When the IG Police Khyber Pakhtunkhwa talks about the protest that was done by certain sections of the police as a result of this heinous incident, after this heinous incident, he said that there are elements that are peddling conspiracy theories. Do you feel that these political anarchists also need to be tackled with very stringently?
Well, I think I've coined this word, or at least brought it into usage in Pakistan, political anarchists, because I don't remember anyone using it before me. They have to be tackled foremost, because as of now, the biggest problem in Pakistan, even more heinous than these criminals and terrorists, is the confusion, the anti-Pakistan, the anti-army, the anti-national agenda of these political anarchists who are actually playing the games or on the agenda of somebody else, whether it is willful or they are doing it by default or whatever. The fact of the matter is, I said it earlier, I repeat it, there is an inexplicable, that means it cannot be explained easily, explicable level of coordination, or by design or by default, between what the Indians are doing or saying and what the anarchists are saying and what the terrorists are doing. So this is
All
what,
right,
that's what I
Brigadier
exactly am
Saab,
trying to tell you.
Brigadier Saab, speaking of terrorists, we've seen what happened in the mosque, in the civil lines. We've seen also what has been happening in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. We've also seen what has been happening in Balochistan. And now we're also seeing what happened in Miawali, in the Makarwal police station, in the district that borders Punjab and KP. An operation is apparently underway to tackle the TTP on the Punjab KP border area. How and in which manner do you feel we need to now tackle the TTP and all such elements that are trying to destabilize our country? Are talks the way forward, or is a strict action the way forward?
Obviously, first of all, you have to take full action. There is no discussion on it. But I am trying to say, we keep referring to one organization. Tomorrow they may change the name, or tomorrow some other organization, militant, terrorist may come in. So it doesn't matter. I said it earlier. It doesn't matter what is the name. What matters is what they're doing. If they were living, some people were living in Afghanistan peacefully, well, it doesn't matter to us. They can live there forever, or they can go anywhere they want. But if they attack Pakistan, the main thing is anyone attacking Pakistan, whether from the west, from the east, or the political anarchists from within, they have to be dealt with by the law, and we are not doing it. We have to, first of all, you get used to the idea that Pakistan is at war. We don't want to accept the basic theme. We are saying, oh, they're miscreants, they're terrorists, they're this, they're that. Pakistan is under attack. So you need to create an environment in which, first of all, you need emergency. I'm talking about emergency from the national security point of view, and also from the economic point of view. And you need to create a government, a national government, or whatever government you want to call it, which can impose it and make sure that of Pakistan are destroyed within Pakistan and also outside Pakistan.
Brigadier Saab, I'd also like to understand, there are also a lot of questions as to who and how many people facilitated this suicide bomber. Do we also need to have an operation in different areas of Pakistan where we feel there are elements that side with all of these terrorist organizations?
You have to amend your laws. That's what I'm saying. You have to impose emergency. You have to bring in new courts. You have to make sure that it is not just the terrorists, but they are militants, but they're abettors, they're financiers, and all the others. And you have some laws, or you had some rules, but that is not enough, or you're not imposing them. So we need to make sure that the entire apparatus, the entire nexus, the entire system of all those who attack Pakistan. I am not talking about one organization. In Balochistan, the people who attack are totally different, or in some other parts of the country. So you have to deal with them in totality. It has to be holistic. It has to be a comprehensive solution. This tidbit that we keep doing sometimes as a reactive, knee-jerk reaction, since something happened in Peshawar, so we talk about Peshawar. Then tomorrow, God forbid, there'll be something in Balochistan. Then again, there'll be a program, and so on. It's not solving our problem, and Pakistan is being attacked on all fronts. But I repeat, in addition to these militants and terrorists, it's the psychological, the social, the moral, and the political dimension.
All right, Brigadier Saab, you talk of the comprehensive and holistic. You talked of the comprehensive and holistic approaches to all of this. Now, the National Action Plan was put into place after the 2014 incident in the APS. Do you feel we need an amendment? Do you feel we need additional clauses as far as the National Action Plan is concerned, and a stringent, application of the National Action Plan in letter and principle?
Even when the plan was put in place, I was asked, and its aftermath and years ahead, I used to say that that was insufficient. And now, obviously, it has been proven insufficient by what all that is happening. So you not only need to amend it, you need to go much further than that. You need to maybe redraw it, or at least bring in those things which are effect. For example, today's social media, and this is what I'm trying to highlight, holistic, when I say holistic and comprehensive package. Social media is an instrument of war. We don't seem to understand that. We think,
hybrid warfare. It's part of hybrid warfare, sir.
That's exactly what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say, for example, I'm just giving you, once the Indians say that Pakistan is in turmoil and this is going to happen to Pakistan, they send in the terrorists from Afghanistan. They incite, or maybe the political anarchists do it on their own, whatever reasons. But there is an environment is created which the projection is that something is happening to Pakistan. Nothing is going to happen to Pakistan. Pakistan is going to come out of this with flying colors, and we are going to
Inshallah, and we're going to emerge stronger and we will be able to thwart all such elements in the future with more robust measures. Thank you very much, Brigadier Nadir, to have joined us, to have talked to us about as far as the updates are concerned and the questions that are circling in many people's minds as far as the methodology behind this heinous incident. Let's come to our second segment, and that concerns energy cooperation, and Pakistan's energy wars. Now, our Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif Saab has inaugurated the K3 unit of the Karachi nuclear power plant in partnership with China in Karachi. How important is energy cooperation between China and Pakistan? How important is energy as a source for Pakistan, for Pakistan's future, and how will units such as the Kanup and others further cement Pakistan economically? More in the following report.
Amid skyrocketing global energy challenges, Pakistan is opting for judicious utilization of solar, renewable and nuclear energy with lightning speed in a bid to diversify energy mix. A new era in the nuclear power development program of Pakistan commenced with the signing of agreement of cooperation in peaceful uses of nuclear energy between Pakistan and China in 1986. The cooperation strengthened with the construction of 3 more nuclear power plants at Chashma nuclear power generation station site. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has vowed to further strengthen Pakistan's strategic partnership with China, adding that different projects under CPEC help significantly in controlling the electricity shortfall in Pakistan. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif inaugurated the 3rd unit of Karachi nuclear power plant, jointly constructed with the assistance of China. With the introduction of K3 into the national grid, the share of nuclear power in the energy mix of Pakistan will exceed 10%. The project aims to augment the power production from the plant for Karachi by 2,200 megawatts. Last year, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari inaugurated a 330 megawatt coal power plant situated at the Thar coal site. Premier Shehbaz Sharif has also been emphasizing implementation of nationwide solarization project to ensure saving valuable foreign exchange being spent on important fuel.
Now, to discuss the energy mix, energy cooperation, and of course the future of Pakistan with all of these power plants that are now emerging with cooperation from important brotherly countries such as China, we've been joined by 2 guests. One is in the studios, one is online. In the studios, we've got Dr. Khalid Waleed. He's a lead researcher, energy unit with the SDPI. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, to have joined us. And online, we've been joined by another PhD doctor, Dr. Usman Chohan. He's a political economist or an economist. Thank you very much, Usman, to have joined us and to have become part of Newsroom. Again, let's begin with you, Dr. Khalid Waleed Saab. Dr. Saab, when it comes to energy cooperation, when it comes to power plants such as Kanup, how important are these power plants for Pakistan? Are these the future for a country like Pakistan as a source of energy?
Thank you so much for inviting me and inviting this topic on the table. Well, Pakistan is facing 3 E's crisis. First E belongs to economy, the other one is energy, and then last one is through environment, that is climate change. And this energy is linked with economy as well and environment as well. Pakistan needs to diversify its energy supply in terms of cooking fuels, in terms of fuel types, and in terms of fuel suppliers as well. If we see that Pakistan uses fuel for cooking purposes at household level, for transportation purposes and for industrial purposes, we rely on just one fuel in rural areas, that is firewood. In urban areas, we rely on just one fuel, that is natural gas. If one fuel is depleted, then we are vulnerable. Our energy security is compromised, or industrial production will be compromised. So I think we need to diversify in terms of fuel types, and we need to diversify in terms of fuel suppliers as well. So your question is very rightly put, that Pakistan needs to explore energy supply, diversify its energy supply through different options. We can explore China's market, we can explore energy from Russia, we can use different energy initiatives like CASA 1000, we can use hydrogen as a fuel. We can import from different countries. Recent visit of Russian delegation and Russian energy minister in this regard is very important. Pakistan is required to diversify its fuel types. Pakistan is required to diversify its fuel suppliers. To give you an example, we import like $1 billion worth of petrol every month. And if we just, if we are vulnerable in this regard, Pakistan's transport sector will be like completely shut down. Like we have seen that in recent petrol crisis, there were long queues of vehicles, and that was a very critical moment for Pakistan. So diversifying our fuel suppliers, diversifying
is the need of the day. Is the need of the day.
Yes,
Dr. Usman Chohan, diversification is the need of the day, but at the same time, there's also the matter of energy security. There's also the matter of vulnerability as far as sources of energy is concerned. Our Premier talks about using other methods for energy such as wind, solar, and he talks about of course how important this unit is which he inaugurated today. It is going to of course give 1100 megawatts of electricity. But when we talk of vulnerability, energy security and diversification, how much of a long road is it for a country like Pakistan, and how long will it take for us to really become diversified as far as different sources of energy is concerned?
Thank you very much. It's hard to say how long the road is because it is very easy and very hard at the same time to have a good, healthy, stable energy grid. By healthy, I mean renewable. And the best estimate is that of the Asian Development Bank, which says that we have about 3 terawatts of renewable energy potential, out of which 2.9 terawatts, a million watts, is solar, 2.9. We're a sunny country. We also have some scope for wind. And then, of course, the nuclear is a very significant and often underlooked a source of energy around the world because of things like 3 Mile Island, Fukushima. It's gotten a bit of a bad name, but in terms of sustainability and in terms of generation part, nuclear can be quite strong. However, 25% of our population roughly is still off the grid. So we have to think about creative ways, not just at the generation side, but at the transmission side. And I
but
think
which creative methods in your point of view should we employ or put into place?
In creativity, I think solar often comes up as a strong option because it doesn't need to be linked part of the main system of grid, which was interrupted recently. It can be more localized as an option. And the whole country is sunny, so you can have a more localized grid based on solar as well as hydro, insofar as people still continue to congregate around the Indus River and its tributaries.
All right. Dr. Khalid, Waleed, the addition of 1100 megawatts, of course, more will come in the long run. Do you feel this is going to help reduce the energy tariff in the country, or is it not related?
The crisis in Pakistan in terms of energy is two-pronged. First, there is accessibility issue, then there is affordability issue. We need to, firstly, we need to look into the aspect of accessibility. Then we need to discuss the affordability. But now the tide is turned. We need to discuss both together, accessibility and affordability. My colleague said that we need to discover or explore creative and novel sources of energy, but this would have some cost involved.
But you know, he talked about solar energy, and the amount of megawatts that we can produce just with solar energy is sufficient for Pakistan to not only fulfill its needs but also export energy.
I think the solar potential for Pakistan, it will cover our needs for future generation as well, but it involves capital investment in it. Right. We need to indigenize our solar potential, and we need to develop solar panels within Pakistan. So we need to import technology in terms of that we start to develop solar panels and solar technologies in terms of solar stoves and solar electric stoves and generate electricity through solar. But firstly, we need to look into the matter of capital cost involved in it, and that capital cost can be decreased, can be reduced if we start exploring indigenous resources so that we can develop these opportunities and these resources within Pakistan. In this way, I think our future generation would be secure in terms of energy security. We would have uninterrupted energy supply in terms of solar power. And we're talking about hydropower plants. Pakistan's current economy I think cannot afford building bigger dams. We need to
look at
alternative resources. We need to look into microhydel dams. We need to explore the option of solar power plants, but with indigenous resources, not with the imported ones.
All right.
Because
that's an interesting point. Dr. Usman, when it comes to all of these alternate sources of energy, one point that Dr. Khalid pointed out, and that was capital cost. Which of the alternate means of energy, whether it be coal, whether it be wind, solar or nuclear, is the most cost effective in your point of view?
Well, in the long run, it's naturally solar that would be cost effective because it depends how you cost things. But my colleague is very right that the initial capital costs are generally high for large scale population requirements. And that's why we should always look at the equation as not just a function of getting electricity, but also how we use it. For example, it's a strong recommendation from the economic perspective that we should not have a nighttime culture of bazaars that use electricity, but instead we should have a more daytime culture of the consumption. And that is, for example, the short-term measures that you would require.
Opening up early and closing up earlier.
Exactly.
Usman, also I'd like to understand the agreement for cooperation and peaceful uses of nuclear energy that was signed between the People's Republic of China and Pakistan way back in 1986. How important has this agreement been as far as the collaboration that we are seeing even now in the form of CANOP and future collaborations that could happen between the two countries?
I believe that the collaborations that we have had over the past 5 decades in general in the energy sector have not utilized the full potential of the country in terms of energy demands. And part of it is that Pakistan has actually developed very fast. The growth of a middle class has meant that the energy demands have exceeded, by and large, the generation and transmission potential of the energy sector. And using international cooperation hasn't translated enough into addressing our needs. What I'm saying is that better cooperation has to be translated or has to be manifest in terms of having peaceful nuclear, for example, usage, but also renewable energy. There's far more that could be done through the avenues that are created through collaboration.
That is very important. The key word here is collaboration. Dr. Khalid, when it comes to collaboration, especially in the nuclear energy field, China National Nuclear Corporation, Pakistan Atomic Energy Corporation signed the contract for construction and installation of a 325 megawatts PWR in Chashma way back in 1991. How important has that project and other projects been, and how important is, in your point of view, nuclear energy as a source of energy for a country such as Pakistan?
Well, talking about alternatives and talking about cleaner energy, nuclear is a very effective option. Pakistan has the capability. Pakistan has the Chinese research and Chinese support in this regard. I think if we look at geopolitics of a world today, we cannot rely on single source of energy. We need to diversify it, whether it is nuclear power, whether it is well, you say piped gas, whether it is renewable energy sources. We need to diversify it. We need not rely on a single source. In terms of that, we need to build whatever we can build with our limited resources, within our limited resources. In these terms, I think collaboration with China for the nuclear development, for the nuclear energy development projects, I think it is imperative for Pakistan's survival and Pakistan's energy sector as well.
All right. Dr. Usman, when it comes to collaboration as far as the energy sector is concerned, how important has that been between China and Pakistan? And how important is the CPEC also as a kind of facilitator for such projects to further enhance Pakistan's energy mix?
You know, CPEC is often described as a game changer, and that's because it laid the groundwork for infrastructure, including in the energy sector. But China's cooperation and collaboration with Pakistan depended on what Pakistan articulated as its needs. And it did articulate, for example, the construction of coal and other non-renewable things. And even in those, the usage has not been from domestic coal like the Thar desert coal, but also imported coal. So China has often asked Pakistan what it needs. And I believe that Pakistan needs to have a more coherent vision of what it needs to then seek help, not just from China, but from other countries. And so CPEC, I believe, in the future can be recalibrated somewhat towards a more renewable stance. And that is what I'm seeing. It's a good sign. And that's what we have to push for, because otherwise you have an installed capacity of 5 gigawatts in Tarbela, 1.4 in Ghazi Broha, 1 gigawatt in Mangla Dam. Your hydropower is limited. The potential for solar is enormous. It could be 3 terawatts, but it isn't yet. And with the nuclear power, our ambition at one point was to go to 8.8 megawatt, 8.8 thousand megawatts, so 8.8 gigawatts of nuclear, but we haven't arrived there yet. Collaboration, therefore, can help us arrive, and CPEC.
How long do you feel we will take in order to arrive to that high number that you just mentioned?
You know, the target was for 2030, and so we do have time. It's still 7 years away, but we might have to push these targets forward, given that the path in most countries' economies has been very jagged over the last 3 years because of COVID and post-COVID recovery. So everybody feels that hiccup, and probably everybody has to push out their horizons at least 5 years beyond 2030 for any such things.
All right, Dr. Khalid, the Premier, while talking at the inauguration of the K3 unit of CANOP, also talked about coal as a source of energy, talked about the huge reserves of coal that we have in Thar. Should we use coal as an alternative means of energy production, and how important is coal as that source of energy?
Well, the simplest answer is no, but giving the Pakistan's economic situation, I think for shorter term, Pakistan needs to explore.
Because even countries in Europe are currently using coal, have started to use coal.
They are using cheaper fuel resources. Pakistan can also explore the cheaper, whatever is cheaper for Pakistan, because the problem is Pakistan's total energy mix contains about like 20% rely on natural gas, and natural gas is depleting. Pakistan is required to produce that 20% through some fuel. And that fuel should be cheaper. If that is not cheaper, it is going to cost us in terms of affordability of it. So we need to explore all the options that are on the table.
Go with the cost-saving measures, and then slowly and steadily move towards those that will be cost-efficient and that could last for generations to come. I think that is the key word, generations, the next generations to come. Dr. Usman, Chohan, when it comes to different sources of energy, you've mentioned the impact of solar energy as an important source, wind energy as well, and nuclear energy. If you were given the reins to move forward the next 3 decades and take Pakistan to a new era of energy production, energy mix, how would you go about it?
If I could make a lighthearted comment first, because of my incompetence, I'd probably take us all back to firewood. That's what would probably happen. But if I was a little bit more competent, then I would focus in the short run on how we use energy. You know, we look good on the graphs of the carbon footprint as a country. We look good because we haven't yet developed to the stage where we would start to scare the climate as much as other countries do. But I remember a time when there was abundant gas in Pakistan and people would rather just let the gas run rather than put out a match.
Just like we do for water nowadays, we let the tap water run.
Well said. So that conservation mindset still doesn't exist. So the first 10 years out of the 30-year horizon you gave me would be more on changing the habits, per force, per penalty, per oversight, that we conserve what we have. Then with the outlook that comes from that, start to work on the generation and the transmission side. Transmission is actually my biggest concern because the energy that is produced doesn't go to everybody because of the geography and the remoteness of portions of our population. If this happens, I would also focus a little bit on the human side in terms of population management, You know that we shouldn't be growing that much, that our demands grow that much. Encourage smaller families and focus on the quality of kids rather than the quantity of kids. That sort of thing also matters, so that our demands stay in line, and then focus on the renewable part of it as being the biggest part, because we have a variety of endowments in Pakistan. We have all 4 seasons, and the fact that we have 3 terawatts of solar potential, it's a sunny country. You know how it is in summer. We really should be focusing on the endowments that we have.
All right, Usman, these are very good points, and I hope that somebody listens to it and takes you on board as far as the next 3 decades are concerned. Coming to you, Dr. Khalid, how should Pakistan go about as far as its energy mix is concerned? We have nuclear energy in the form of Canop, we've got coal as a source of energy, we've got solar, and we've got wind energy, but of course that needs to be put into place through mechanisms that will have a certain cost attached to it, but in the long run they're going to be most cost effective. What are the direct interventions that need to be done as far as Pakistan's energy mix are concerned in the next year or so?
Pakistan has almost no supply on energy mix in terms of supply. What we can do in short run, we can have some conservation measures. We can conserve electricity, we can conserve energy, and then we can talk about what we need to do in terms of energy mix. In terms of energy mix, solar is the key. In terms of energy mix, renewables is the key. Obviously, you are right that it has some capital cost for the short run, but it is the cost that we need to pay if we need to survive in the longer run, if we need to have better energy security situation for the longer run. I think renewable is the way forward. I think solar is the way forward, and I think we need to change our habits in terms of conservation, in terms of energy savings in all the sector of Pakistan, residential sector, commercial sector, the industrial sector, and the services sector. Government needs to take the lead on this.
And I hope it will take your advice and the advice of Dr. Usman Chohan as well, as far as how to move the country forward in terms of energy mix is concerned. Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid, Waleed. Thank you very much, Dr. Usman Chohan, to have joined us, to have talked to us about Pakistan's future as far as its energy production and energy mix is concerned. Let's come to our last 2 stories. The first is Pakistan becomes one of the fastest growing markets for applications worldwide. This is a report that has come out for the year 2022, and it talks about the amount of apps that were downloaded by Pakistanis last year, that rose by 35.4% compared to the preceding year. With 3.5 billion downloads, Pakistan was ahead of all comparable markets, ahead of Indonesia, says the report. Pakistanis have used mobile apps 161 billion hours last year, as per the report is concerned, which puts the country 6th at number 6 worldwide. WhatsApp Business, in fact, was the most downloadable app, followed by Snapchat, WhatsApp Messenger, CapCut, TikTok. Easy Paisa was the most downloaded among locally developed apps, followed by Jazz Cash, Zong, and Universal Remote TV. And of course, the different categories in which Pakistan has been the front runner as far as downloading the apps and using these apps is concerned. It's the new age, it's the age when everybody has a mobile phone, a smartphone on him or her, and they run their livelihoods through that. Let's come to our last segment, and that concerns Siddique Kappan, who is an Indian journalist who finally walked out of jail after a period of 2 years. He spent 28 months in jail without trial. He was charged under anti-terror laws for reporting on a gang rape case. Nothing happened. He stayed in jail, and now finally, because of all the efforts of human rights organizations, he's back out. But it raises a lot of question marks as far as the press freedom in India is concerned. The fact remains that people in India, whether they be journalists or they be normal citizens, are not allowed to lead their lives as per the rights that are enshrined under the Human Rights Charter by the United Nations. This raises a lot of question marks for a country that considers itself to be the largest democracy and a pluralist country. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Allah Hafiz.